I always thought of myself as a storyteller, and after after I graduated from uh, grad school at Columbia, I worked as a speechwriter for the Israeli ambassador to the United Nations for a period. And I really enjoyed writing, even though, I wasn't writing in my own voice. I was writing in his voice. But I also, in addition to the speeches, I took care of a lot of the other correspondence. And I just always felt comfortable writing. And when I would start writing, it was like everything else just kind of disappeared around me, and I just focused on what I was doing. And it sort of transported me in a way. And sometimes when I read what I have written, I don't remember having written it, and it feels like somebody else wrote it. So I always saw myself as not only a writer, but like I said, a storyteller. And I would tell, my wife and I would go out with friends, and I would tell stories, and they would say like, "Wow, you're such a good storyteller." And my wife was always saying to me like, "That's what I said. I think he should be a writer. He should be a TV writer, like write for TV comedies or something like that." And and I had this idea for a screenplay based on some stuff that happened in college. And I had no idea how to write a screenplay, no idea. So I got a book, how to write a screenplay. I got a couple of books. And I kind of taught myself how to write a script. And I wrote it and I rewrote it. And it's funny because when I first started writing it, I thought to myself, if I could just finish this, I'll be totally satisfied. Like I'll know I accomplished something. I wrote a script. And then, of course, when you finish it, you're not satisfied because you didn't write it just to put it in the drawer somewhere. So you keep moving your own goalposts and you say, well, now that I've written it, I want somebody to make it. Um, so I sent it to a friend of a friend in California, and he gave me enough encouragement to sort of keep writing it or keep editing it. He didn't buy it, and he didn't say like we're going to make this, but he thought that there was enough there that I should keep pursuing it. And then, and I had a full-time job. I had kids at this point, and I was just doing this on the side because you have a ton of free time when you have all these other commitments. So I wrote another screenplay, and I felt like I needed to make time to do it. So what I did was I took a screenwriting course. And I thought, well, this will provide me with the framework that I need to actually sit and write. Because if you have assignments, then you actually have to do them. So I took a course here in New York City at something called the Gotham Writers Workshop. And these things can be really uneven based on who the instructors are. And I was very fortunate that I had a very good instructor. And I took it seriously. And I took it seriously enough that I was handing in written work in every class because I wanted to complete another screenplay. And I did that. And so I had two scripts that were finished. And then I had this idea for another script. And this idea came to me after seeing the film Munich, which told the story of the massacre of the Israeli athletes at the Munich Olympics in 1972, and then the Mossad operation to hunt down the killers of the athletes. And I thought to myself, well, there's some things that they just didn't get right about the Arab-Israeli conflict. I mean, that's, the arrogance of not knowing anything about, how a film gets made. I'm like, oh, no, I want to present this story in a different way. So I wrote a script. It was a love story between an Israeli man and a Palestinian woman, and it was set in Brooklyn. And I sat down and like with other things, but this one for real, just like came out of me. Like it took me, I just worked and worked and worked on this until it all just fell out. And then I showed the script to one of my siblings. And she called me after reading it and she said, nobody's going to make this film for you. So if you want to make this film, you have to figure out how to make it. So that kind of planted the seed in my head that, yeah, if I want to do this, I'm going to have to do it. Nobody's going to do it for me. And I managed to scrape money together. We made a very low budget film, which is not a documentary, but a scripted film based on my script. And we called it Homeland, which should not be confused with the way more successful cable series called Homeland. But we did our title came first, uh, and that was it. I took a leave of absence from my job, and I never went back.